forever scarred by slavery and the stealing of Native American lands, of course. And on the life question, well, let's just say Tallarico is diametrically at odds with most Texas voters.
What do you think of biblical evidence to support the opinion of being pro-abortion?
In Genesis, God creates life by breathing life into the first human being. Life starts when you take your first breath. The angel comes down and asks Mary if this is something she wants to do. And she says, if it is God's will, let it be done. Let it be. That is an affirmation in one of our most central stories that creation has to be done with consent. You cannot force someone to create.
In that perverse reading of Scripture, he's either stupid or a liar, and neither is an attractive quality for candidates that would in any way appeal to Texas Christians, whom, by the way, he went on to insult.
Jesus liberates. Christian nationalism controls. Jesus saves. Christian nationalism kills. They have co-opted the Son of God. They've turned this humble rabbi into a gun-toting, gay-bashing, science-denying, money-loving, fear-mongering fascist. And it is incumbent upon all Christians to confront it and denounce it.
We have, I think, heard more and more issues of animal welfare. I think not just because it's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do, but also it's, as all of you know, necessary to fight climate change. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption and that we try to respect animals in all aspects of society. And so I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign. So we are only buying vegan products from our local vegan businesses. Some of you may know Big Nona's. They were little Nona's, and then they opened up brick and mortar, so now they're Big Nona's. But we just got our pizza from there today. And so the point is that I think all of us, not just policymakers, but everyone has to take personal responsibility in this effort.
The Democrats have a weird candidate.
God is non-binary. There are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us. Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity. Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. No need to sit and cry over, your whiteness or your masculinity. They're gonna call me a radical leftist.
Something that you love, that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
The Democrats have a weird candidate.
Low T Tallarico, too weak for Texas. Lone Star Liberty PAC is responsible for the content of this ad. This is Texas. This is not.
There are many more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
This is Texas. This is not.
The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us.
This is Texas. This is not.
They're going to call me a radical leftist.
This is Texas. This is not.
Something that you love, that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
This is Texas. This is not.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
This is Texas. This is not.
It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
This is Texas. This is not.
Move over, Davy Crockett. There's a new Texas trailblazer in town, and their name is James Tallarico. The man who bragged, our office is the first in the history of Texas to add pronouns to our official business cards.
I am running around like a crazy person today,
spreading his white skin wherever he goes.
I am not a perfect Christian. Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity, and it's a painful
process.
Bearing the cross of white skin and unambiguous masculinity.
I was a big nerd in high school. Never played sports. I probably shouldn't out myself like this. Sex is a spectrum, and oftentimes it can be very ambiguous.
God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Straight from Revelations in the woke James Bible.
I want us all to be aware of that there are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
And on the 7th day, they rested. But not James Tallarico. He built an ark big enough for all creatures.
To be able to write legislation that benefits not just the people, but also our animal friends.
Just like the Supreme Court said, 1 cow, 1 vote.
Now, existential, that we try to reduce our meat consumption. That's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do.
The 11th commandment, thou shalt not smoke brisket.
I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
So step aside, Sam Houston. Tallarico's bravery towers over Texas. He's fighting for all 6 genders and tens of thousands of species.
I guess we just have a different moral yardstick.
You know what insults Jesus?
Binary white people who eat barbecue and remember the Alamo?
There's only been one perfect Christian.
And they certainly weren't a carnivorous Caucasian binary Homo sapien, according to the woke Gospel of James.
They're going to call me a radical leftist, un-Texan, un-American.
And bar none, the weirdest candidate for Senate the Lone Star State has ever seen.
This is Texas. This is not.
There are many more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
This is Texas. This is not.
The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us.
This is Texas. This is not.
They're going to call me a radical leftist.
This is Texas. This is not.
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
This is Texas. This is not.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
This is Texas. This is not.
It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
This is Texas. This is not.
In Texas, we value loving our neighbors. James Tallarico voted 3 times to protect child sex offenders and violent criminals over victims. You heard that right. A bipartisan coalition of both Democrats and Republicans supported legislation to protect victims. But Tallarico consistently votes with his most radical colleagues. Texans know how to love our neighbors. This isn't it.
Protecting America's future is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Far-right conspiracy theories about trans children causing problems on sports teams, which we know does not occur.
Trying to figure out trans athletes in sports, that's an issue where we could actually come to a policy solution. Poverty is violence. Pollution is violence. And yes, prison is violence.
James Tallarico is a hypocrite when it comes to fighting for families. Tallarico wants to teach trans ideology in schools and let boys compete in girls' sports. Tallarico says it's immoral to use the oil and gas that employs millions of Texans. Tallarico wants higher taxes and policies that'll raise prices on families. Hypocrite James Tallarico will do anything to push his radical agenda, even if it leaves families broke and jobless.
I'm Ken Paxton, and I approve this message.
In Texas, we never back down from a fight, and neither does Ken Paxton.
Attorney General Ken Paxton, who's on the front lines of the immigration debate.
Joining us is one of the best attorney generals in the country. He's a terrific American patriot, Ken Paxton.
Ken Paxton is suing the Biden administration to allow deportations to resume.
You're daring the federal government to try and stop you. Why?
Ken Paxton is suing Netflix. Ken Paxton is suing Google.
Ken Paxton is suing TikTok.
Part of the settlement compels Texas Children's Hospital to make a so-called detransition clinic which would be the first of its kind in the country.
Ken Paxton is suing the NCAA. He claims the lawsuit is about protecting women's sports.
An attorney general who has really led the way, somebody who has been brave and strong. Ken Paxton, tremendous guy.
The major race now called in Texas. Trump-backed candidate Ken Paxton has won the state's Senate race.
Ken Paxton will be the GOP candidate on the ticket come November.
We just made history.
Now, Ken Paxton is ready to take on the next fight and win.
My opponent is the most extreme radical the Democrats have ever nominated. He goes by a few names that you may all have heard of. Some people call him Six-Gender Jimmy.
Modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
People know him as Tofu Tallarico.
I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
And others refer to him simply as Low T Tallarico.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children. Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
But no matter what you call him, let me tell you this. James Tallarico is a threat to everything we hold dear in this state and in this country. It's time to finish this, Texas. Defeat James Tallarico and deliver for our state.
Ken Paxton for U.S. Senate.
Particular accusation, I oppose gender reassignment surgeries for minors. I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
Faith is my foundation. My politics grows out of my faith. Jesus is far more radical than any political ideology or political candidate.
Jesus is a radical, he says. Well, the more voters are learning about Democrats' secret weapon in Texas, James Tallarico, the more it looks like their rising star could flame out early. Tallarico attends St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Austin, which is known for its preaching of progressive politics. For instance, traditional references to God as Lord or King, those are rejected. And the teachings in the church sound like they're ripped from the pages of an Ivy League history prof's lectures, bemoaning the American founding, which it insists is forever scarred by slavery and the stealing of Native American lands, of course. And on the life question, well, let's just say Tallarico is diametrically at odds with most Texas voters.
What do you think is the biblical evidence to support the opinion of being pro-abortion?
In Genesis, God creates life by breathing life into the first human being. Life starts when you take your first breath. The angel comes down and asks Mary if this is something she wants to do. And she says, if it is God's will, let it be done. Let it be. That is an affirmation in one of our most central stories that creation has to be done with consent. You cannot force someone to create.
In that perverse reading of Scripture, he's either stupid or a liar, and neither is an attractive quality for candidates that would in any way appeal to Texas Christians, whom, by the way, he went on to insult.
Jesus liberates. Christian nationalism controls. Jesus saves. Christian nationalism kills. They have co-opted the Son of God. They've turned this humble rabbi into a gun-toting, gay-bashing, science-denying, money-loving, fear-mongering fascist. And it is incumbent upon all Christians to confront it and denounce it.
We have, I think, heard more and more issues of animal welfare. I think not just because it's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do, but also it's, as all of you know, necessary to fight climate change. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption and that we try to respect animals in all aspects of society. And so I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign. So we are only buying vegan products from our local vegan businesses. Some of you may know Big Nona's. They were little Nona's, and then they opened up brick and mortar, so another Big Nona's. But we just got our pizza from there today. And so the point is that I think all of us, not just policymakers, but everyone has to take personal responsibility in this effort.
The Democrats have a weird candidate.
God is non-binary. There are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us. Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity. Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. No need to sit and cry over, your whiteness or your masculinity. They're gonna call me a radical leftist.
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
The Democrats have a weird candidate.
Low T Tallarico, too weak for Texas. Lone Star Liberty PAC is responsible for the content of this ad. This is Texas. This is not.
There are many more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
This is Texas. This is not.
The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us.
This is Texas. This is not.
They're gonna call me a radical leftist.
This is Texas. This is not.
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
This is Texas. This is not.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
This is Texas. This is not.
It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
This is Texas. This is not.
Move over, Davy Crockett. There's a new Texas trailblazer in town, and their name is James Tallarico, the man who bragged, "Our office is the first in the history of Texas to add pronouns to our official business cards."
I am running around like a crazy person today,
spreading his white skin wherever he goes.
I am not a perfect Christian.
Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity, and it's a painful process.
Bearing the cross of white skin and unambiguous masculinity.
I was a big nerd in high school, never played sports. I probably shouldn't out myself like this. Sex is a spectrum, and oftentimes it can be very ambiguous. God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Straight from Revelations in the woke James Bible.
I want us all to be aware of that. There are many more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
And on the 7th day, they rested. But not James Tallarico. He built an ark big enough for all creatures.
To be able to write legislation that benefits not just the people, but also our animal friends.
Just like the Supreme Court said, 1 cow, 1 vote.
Now, existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. It's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do.
The 11th commandment, thou shalt not smoke brisket.
I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
So step aside, Sam Houston. Tallarico's bravery towers over Texas. He's fighting for all 6 genders and tens of thousands of species.
I guess we just have a different moral yardstick.
You know what insults Jesus?
Binary white people who eat barbecue and remember the Alamo?
There's only been one perfect Christian.
And they certainly weren't a carnivorous, Caucasian, binary Homo sapien, according to the woke Gospel of James.
They're gonna call me a radical leftist, un-Texan, un-American.
And bar none, the weirdest candidate for Senate the Lone Star State has ever seen.
This is Texas. This is not.
There are many more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
This is Texas. This is not.
The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us.
This is Texas. This is not.
They're gonna call me a radical leftist.
This is Texas. This is not.
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
This is Texas. This is not.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
This is Texas. This is not.
It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
This is Texas. This is not.
In Texas, we value loving our neighbors. James Tallarico voted 3 times to protect child sex offenders and violent criminals over victims. You heard that right. A bipartisan coalition of both Democrats and Republicans supported legislation to protect victims. But Tallarico consistently votes with his most radical colleagues. Texans know how to love our neighbors. This isn't it.
Protecting America's future is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Far-right conspiracy theories about trans children causing problems on sports teams, which we know does not occur. Trying to figure out trans athletes in sports, that's an issue where we could actually come to a policy solution. Poverty.
Hey, we made it. We all made it. Well, I'm running the stream, but you always lead the show, so why don't we stick at least with some of that so people...
All right, so I'll bring down the music. There was a little bit of dead air there, and coming up in radio, I was like, oh, we can't have dead air. I just had to fill it with something.
You're so good. Thank you.
All right, so that's hey folks, welcome to the third rail, and it's coming to you different tonight. Alex and I, after last week's experience with something was happening in Rumble Studio, we, as a precaution, set up a restream ability to do this, and it turned out to be providential because right now, as we're speaking, gentlemen, Rumble is down, and Rumble Studio is down. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Rumble Studio, but praise God, it'll be up by tomorrow morning by the time we broadcast in the morning. You are saying hello to your liberty-loving Latino, Chris Salcedo. You got Alexander Muse there in the dark dungeon of conservatism. And then in the bright, sunny skies of the mile-high state, you've got one Chris Putnam who was walking his dog the other day and literally rubbing my nose in it. That it was like, what, 79 degrees out or something like that is just not good. That's just not good it's good for you. It's just not good that we're here in 105 in Texas. So, gentlemen, welcome to you, all of you.
And I beg to differ. I mean, I think they said the feels like temperature here was 108 today or 107.
Oh, that's all? Okay, well, Chris, your microphone's working, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Nice.
I like to say that God actually made Colorado for Texans. We just let Coloradans take care of it for us.
Indeed. So yeah, man, welcome to everybody. So Alex, kind of weird, not me just having to sit here and not be operating controls.
You want me to push some buttons here? I can push a button.
Well, I was going to ask you. Well, there you go. See, look at that. Push some buttons, check it out. And there's you solo. Look at that. That is really kind of cool. This is the Restream application we were discussing last week.
Yeah. So, I actually like this application. I have no idea how to use it. So we were flying blind. So,
you know what? I do like the Brady Bunch boxes because the studio has, your main guest is huge, and then the two other guests are small. And this one puts us equal. It gives us control over proportionality. So that's
they have some features where we can it'll actually change this stuff based on who's speaking. So we could actually get some fancy stuff set up here if we start using this. I mean, who knows if we like it, but let's try it tonight, see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I haven't looked at to see if everybody can understand us. Last week, the studio was kind of wigging out on us. So it was somewhat passable on Rumble, but on X, it was quote unquote unlistenable. And And let's see what other.
I'm looking to see if anyone's messaging me right now.
Yeah, Getter. It was pristine because it was going to Getter through OBS.
Oh my God, I got an emergency message from Ken Paxton.
What? No.
Yeah. No, he needs money. Oh wait, no, it's not emergency. It's the standard message.
Hey, he's not lying. He's not lying about that.
I keep getting people keep talking about it on X. They're like, why isn't Ken running ads? And I said, because he doesn't have enough money to run ads. He goes, well, Tallarico runs them all the time. And I said, well, that's because he's best friends with the Epstein pal Reid Hoffman.
Yeah, there you go. And he's been raising money for what, 3 months while John Cornyn fought to keep left-wing extremism as part of the Republican Party. I guess we got to start there tonight, guys, because look, this guy Jake, what is it? Jake Smith, not Jake from State Farm. Jake Smith is his name, right? And he went from John Cornyn's office as a legislative aide, and he joined the Telefreak show as a Republican who is dedicated to defeating conservatives. Because according to him, Jake Smith has been a lifelong Republican, serving Republicans, but apparently his ideology and his worldview that was supported by John Cornyn translates into Telefreak show and all of his extremism. All the folks were watching on these various commercials. Alex, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, well, I saw the same thing, and I looked at who he was and his resume and so on. But I thought it was really fascinating that Venmo Makoviak indicated that he had never heard of the guy, never met him, never no doubt. But if you go look at the guy's LinkedIn and so on, it shows that theoretically he's been a legislative aide to Cornyn for a long time. So I don't know what to make of that, but I did think that was funny. But agreed. I mean, if he was truly a close aide to John Cornyn, the fact that he decided immediately to jump over to the Tallarico team, it makes me feel a lot more confident in my decision to have opposed Cornyn than I was yesterday. I was pretty confident.
Mr. Putnam, I'm going to ask you this as delicately as I possibly can, because I know that you were in the journalism business and you got to remain straight down the middle on a lot of these things. But is it fair to say that if you are a legislative aide and you are welcomed with open arms by a guy by the name of John Cornyn who claims to be a Republican, and you're also welcomed with open arms by the James Telefreak show campaign, which is arguably socialist, leftist, Marxist, insane, that their values, they're similar. I mean, John Cornyn and James Tallarico are the same dudes because they have the same mindset and they hire the same kind of people. Is that fair?
Yeah, there's some fairness to that. I mean, John Cornyn was clearly not a conservative. He was very much kind of a middle of the road Chamber of Commerce Republican. I think in this case, a lot of it has to do with the fact that in order to operate effectively in DC and in the Senate, you need experienced people that have relationships. And so I think that this probably, fits in that category as well. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about the Senate, the types of Republicans that are in the Senate, as you all well know, are not that far away from the types of Democrats that are in the Senate. I mean, that's basically the definition of the uniparty. So I'm really not surprised. It's just very rare that you get kind of an authentic conservative, the type of that Ken Paxton is, into that body. And it's very unusual, actually. And so I think that's what it's about as much as anything.
Well, sure. And of course, we all know that the United States Senate is shitting itself over the idea that an actual conservative might join their ranks the way they did with Ted Cruz. And now that there might be two of them from the state of Texas is just absolutely blowing their minds. Now, Senator Cornyn has weighed in on this controversy, Alex, and I want you to respond to him. And I'm going to read verbatim. He was responding to a gentleman by the name of John C. Moritz. I don't know Mr. Moritz. Maybe you guys do, but Mr. Moritz was saying James Tallarico hires Cornyn, former deputy legislative director. So this legislative director, high up, shares Tallarico and John Cornyn's shared values. I think we've established that. So John Cornyn said this, and I'm going to give the first sentence and I want Alex to respond to it. John, he was saying to John Moritz, John, only in authoritarian countries does someone else get to decide where you work. That was what Cornyn said. Alex, in the first sentence, what do you say to that?
Well, I don't even understand the context.
Well, I don't either. To me, Mr. Cornyn is floating what we call in the vernacular a red herring. He's trying to divert everybody from the moment where you go, oh my gosh, Tallarico and Cornyn are the same men. They're the same kind of people, same values, right? Because they can change legislative directors like they change their underwear, right?
Oh, I see. Oh, he's talking that's why I didn't understand the context. He's talking in reference to his
correct. He's talking
aid.
in reference to the legislative aid. And so John Cornyn introduces something that wasn't even in the conversation. No conservative is out there saying that Jake from State Farm, sorry, it's not Jake from State Farm, it's Jake Smith. Jake Smith can't work wherever the hell he wants to work. As a matter of fact, it's the Democrats who are against right to work. So John Cornyn begins with a Joseph Goebbels, Chairman Mao, Soviet Union style redirect, as if any of us are criticizing Mr. Smith for being able to choose the job of his choice.
No, I appreciate the fact that he's telling the truth. I mean, he's telling us who he is. And I think the more we do that, it's good. But it's not like you're going to play for the Patriots and then you switch to the Cowboys. I mean, you're playing a game. This is where theoretically we're talking about values and where we are as a people. And if you feel like that you feel comfortable in Tallarico's camp, I can't imagine that I'd feel comfortable having you in my camp.
You're spot on. I, as your liberty-loving Latino, Alex or Mr. Putnam, probably would not find any commonality in hiring individuals who would work for a leftist and a Marxist, left-wingers. But left-wingers, anti-American kooks, freaks, and nuts seem to have a home and are welcomed by the likes of John Cornyn. And I will say this, Mr. Cornyn begins his statement by trying to throw us off the scent by introducing something that nobody is saying. Oh, well, in America, you have the right to work where you're supposed to work or where you want to work. And nobody's suggesting otherwise. So it's a bit of a head fake. Mr. Putnam, I'm going to give you a crack at statement number 2. And this is where I believe John Cornyn reveals who and what he really is. Quote, those concerned might want to channel their energy into broadening Republican outreach to a coalition of voters rather than just those already converted. What does that say to you?
Well, this is a narrative, that's going around. There's a few prominent voices, some that are less prominent but noisy, that are like just absolutely butthurt over what happened in this primary. And they are using this as kind of a pre-rationalization in the event that Republicans actually, do lose one or both of the houses. And so, it's mostly your establishment class Republican, you're a very moderate Republican who's permeable, on a lot of these major issues. The types of people don't pass the SAVE Act, that won't give us comprehensive border security and immigration reform after wasting 2 trifectas. And they're just making excuses. I mean, these are the people that want to wait President Trump out. Like, they don't actually plan on doing anything legislatively, and that they're just setting up an "I told you so" in the event that Republicans do poorly in this election.
That's a fair point. And don't forget, Mr. Cornyn is a man who is out there saying that he wants socialists and Marxists to be able to vote for their preference in Republican primaries. Remember, the Republicans and Democrats, they're a private organization, and Mr. Cornyn wants to use the heavy hand of government to force Republicans to associate with socialists and anti-American kooks. And that's how John Cornyn believes. But look at his statement. Those concerned might want to channel their energy into broadening Republican outreach to a coalition of voters rather than just those already converted. So in other words, he wants to change what it is to be a Republican. He wants Republicans to be him. He's laying the foundation that he, as a Republican who attacked our Second Amendment rights, who forced us to fund blue flag, it's what I call them, blue flag laws in blue states to rob us of our due process rights and rob us of our Second Amendment rights. He voted to open up the southern border to massive uncontrolled illegal immigration and the abuses of law enforcement and the abuses of government against the political opponents of the Democrats. John Cornyn wants to make that Republican. So he wants to take everything that is coveted by Democrats, communism, socialism, anti-Americanism, totalitarianism, and say, hey, we're a big tent here in the Republican Party. Let's change what a Republican is. And that's what John Cornyn has worked at doing for 24 years of his career to muddy the waters and solidify the uniparty, which is they're in it for themselves. There is no contest of ideas anymore. They're in it for the supremacy of government control. Alex, where am I going wrong?
Well, no, you're not. And the fact, I mean, think about the role of the legislative aide. I mean, what is his role? And Chris, you probably understand it. I've got two Chris's on the phone. Chris P, what is the role of the legislative aide? This is the person that's helping you figure out what legislation you should be supporting and what you should be drafting and so on. I guess it's no wonder we didn't pass the SAVE Act. I mean, if this guy who feels very comfortable in the camp of James Tallarico was the one dictating legislative strategy and direction for Cornyn, I mean, we're really in trouble.
In fact, these are a lot of the same people who are very pro-immigration, whether it's legal or illegal, frankly. And these are the people that have refused to stand up, and address H-1B abuses, restrictions on H-1B immigration that, as you pointed out earlier, like kind of rubber stamped opening the border under the Biden administration. And they all kind of fit in the same class. And when you look at who their surrogates are that are, kind of playing the same message, it's all those same types of people.
It's true. And you know what? I've got to look at, and for me, this is validation. I have said there's a uniparty. I've said the two-party system, at least in the last 30, 40 years, has been an illusion. It's just been this cabal, the deep state, if you will, turning us into a slave class and eroding our rights. And I'll get to why that's important and how that's happened in a minute. But I just want you guys to recognize everything that I have said about this class of Republicans: Cornyn, McConnell, Murkowski, Curtis, Tillis. I'm sad to say Cotton, and so many of them. The currency is how many Democrat asses can I place my lips on, and how much can I sell the country down the river from the traditions of the founding fathers of this country, the traditions that are embedded in the Constitution, American principles, to satisfy socialists and Marxists. And I've got to say, if you guys have watched, and I'll go to you first, Alex. If you've watched what has been transpiring in the Democrat primaries, socialists are winning. John Thune and John Cornyn's gambit to turn over control of the Congress to, quote, Democrats so they can stop Trump, so they can stop the America First agenda. This is a dangerous gambit now, because your Kennedy Democrats, hell, your Clinton Democrats, they're gone. They're getting voted out. And John Thune right now, by his intransigence on the Save America Act and doing what we all know he can do to get it passed and over the finish line to stop the Democrats cheating in the ballot box, that basically John Thune's gambit to turn over the government to Democrats is really going to be turning over this government to communists and socialists. And that's the danger, no?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's been understated. We are watching sort of a fundamental transformation of, what amounts to the largest political party in the United States, the most powerful political party in the world. And there is a union between the socialists and the Islamists. And so we are seeing, this takeover, call it the DSA, but it's basically an Islamic Marxist revolution, and they are in trouble, and they are scrambling, and they've had a bunch of losses. They've had some wins. I mean, so they are worried. They know their party is about to be lost. The Democrats, and so it is the biggest opportunity that we have as a party that this is going on. And I don't know if we're even in a position to take advantage of it because we're such a mess ourselves. I mean, we have the opportunity to, we have control of all three branches of government, and we need to leverage that and need to double down and help save the country, because if we don't, we're in trouble. Because we are supposed to lose both. Well, at the very least, we're supposed to lose the House for certain, but maybe the Senate. And so, we have the opportunity right now to get a lot of stuff done that they won't be able to undo, at least in the near
Alex,
term. I really
we've
feel
had
uncomfortable.
2 Trump trifectas in order to do that. We've done nothing. Sorry, I got to pub here. Congress has done absolutely nothing.
The good news is that your microphone's doing a good job of hiding it, so we don't really hear him. Why don't you show us what he looks like? Bring him on stage. Oh, yeah, he's the cute one. Yeah.
Look at that. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just unbelievable to me that we've gone now through 2 trifectas. We have no border security immigration reform bill, nothing. We're not even having a discussion about it. The public immigration is the issue of our time. And by the way, it's the reason I think a guy like Bill Fritch has been incredibly outspoken, is going to cruise in his election. Other people are they're going to struggle who haven't been as vocal about it.
See, and this is the problem. See, you've got and you guys have hit on it. Chris, you just hit on it. Alex, you hit on it. You've got a Republican Party that has half of the party that is in it for Democrats, keeping up the sophistry. We've got to pretend there's a 2-party system, pretend there's a debate. I'll give you guys this example. You guys remember the Tea Party, right? Tea Party was infiltrated by Mitch McConnell and the establishment party at that time. What do? They gave a nod to some of the candidates, got them into the Congress, and co-opted them. And then as soon as the people got in, some of them lasted maybe 1 term. Some of them, that conformed, were able to remain in Congress. But the movement died out. The Democrats were supposed to co-opt as the Democrat part of the Uniparty. They were supposed to co-opt their socialist movement, their communist movement, but they didn't. The communists and the socialists are winning, and it's on their side. And it's a minority. It's about 20% of our population. The kooks, freaks, and nuts who hate this country, who want to see it all undone. This red-green alliance that Alex was talking about, the jihadists and the communists together. That they are the intellectual prowess behind the Democrats. And you've got Republicans who still think it's 1980, ready to turn the country back over to them. And John Thune has said it. John Thune has said, Chris, that, hey, if the Democrats get rid of the filibuster and they run roughshod over us, well, that's going to be up to them. That's what he said. It's going to be up to them. As if there weren't real world ramifications and direct harm to our people. John Thune couldn't give 2 shits.
Moses didn't give us the zombie filibuster. The 70s gave us the zombie filibuster.
And keep this in mind, that the way
disco and the zombie
way
filibuster.
That you describe that partnership is absolutely accurate, but that is a partnership of political convenience for the Muslims, right? I mean, they are using them. They in no way share any of their values, but they are so adept and sophisticated at using our own systems of government against us, our own laws against us, our own freedoms against us. And these people are too naive to understand what's going on. And consider the fact that Democrats shut the government down, 4 times? Over illegal immigration, of allowing illegal immigration. What have Republicans done? What have they done? The president's done plenty. But what has Congress done? It is, to me, it's just extraordinary that we are sitting here and the second Trump trifecta, when he won 2, some would say 3, national elections on that issue, and Congress has done nothing.
And Alex, that's the rub here, because the game, when Republicans are in the majority, the game is to run out the clock. When the Democrats are in the majority, it's full speed ahead, pedal the metal, socialism, communism, the erosion of your rights, right? When the Republicans are in, it's just like, how can we waste time? How can we stop constitutionalists and getting back to the Constitution? Because it gets in the way of us being unchallenged power, unchallenged money, and we don't want the people thinking it's their government anymore or they have any say on this. And that's exactly what we're witnessing. And guys like Cornyn and McConnell and Thune are the poster children, and Barrasso and Cotton. They're the poster children, Tillis, all of them for, you know what? I think we've joined the Democrats and let's make elections irrelevant. These people are so stupid. By the way, they've served to make us stupid. They've served to make this country uneducated by their administration of GovEd, which I'll get to in a minute. But Alex, this is where we are.
The Cornyn, strategy and the Rhino strategy is, oh well, let's give them a little, and then we'll get some back. We're playing the long game. I mean, I think that's exactly what the Democrats are doing themselves. They're fooling themselves in making this bargain with the Islamists. They think, well, we'll let the guys have a little bit of what they want, and they don't realize that this is an existential crisis. We are talking about the end of Western civilization as we know it if we let them win. And the Democrats are trading power and giving them this opportunity. And maybe they're right. Maybe the Democrats will be able to claw it back and they won't lose it. And if they lose it, we lose it. But I wouldn't bet on it. And and I have been pushing on this Islamification issue. I make it a daily topic that I cover in my reporting, and it is. I think it is such a. It's a bigger deal than we're that even maybe I'm talking about. Obviously, Chris. I love to hear some of the reporting you guys are doing. There was even more that came out today. I loved what you reported on kind of the Uber situation, and those are all, and that's a good issue to talk about because I think the normal people can identify with what's really going on and why that's a problem. But anyway, I am worried, and I think they're giving up control of their party to keep control of that party, but ultimately I don't think they're going to get it back.
And what's incredible about that is there is just example after example, both the United States and globally in places like the UK, where they have run this playbook. I mean, it's not a mystery what they're trying to do here or why. It's all about infiltrating our political systems. And again, if the people don't wake up to what's happening here, like, it's going to change things rapidly. It already is in a lot of our North Texas communities, as you all know.
Well,
I looked at just real quickly. So Chris and the Dallas Express, and they've been doing lots of reporting on kind of what's going on in here in North Texas, and a lot of that is related to this Islamification issue that I'm focused on. I think the most recent reporting was really interesting, which the Uber drivers in at the airports in Dallas and the surrounding areas, they have if you work together, you can kind of game the way those applications work, and they are very sophisticated the way they game them. So they get the majority of the rides, and so they have basically built kind of like stations around the airports where they sort of take control of these rides. And it's no accident that the airports want to build more foot bathing systems outside of the security tent, the security area. So we already have them at DFW. There are Islamic foot baths.
It's called Voodoo for the doo-doo on your feet.
Voodoo for the doo-doo on your feet. So those are already inside Houston and Dallas international airports, but they want to put them outside to service the Islamic Uber drivers who have taken over that part of the business. And they are doing so. The people that pick up your car, that pick up you at the airport, is probably not the right person. I mean, his name is Muhammad, but it's not the same Muhammad who actually has that account. And I as a father of a young 18-year-old girl, she looks like she's 14 to me, but I just don't want her in one of those cars because I know what happens. And anyway, I see this happening, and I love the coverage you're doing, Chris. I guess I'm calling it out, just saying thank you for the coverage you're doing. But I've also, what do we do?
The interesting thing about that story is the source was actually an Indian American who was just getting incredibly frustrated. You could see that he was getting jammed, and the way the queues would work. And the second he'd roll into this geofence perimeter within DFW airport, would get no rides. It's basically a Muslim mafia that's controlling ride sharing in the high concentration areas of the Metroplex. They were doing it during World Cup as well. And if you go to ask the DFW airport police, they're like, there's nothing we can do. They're just like ignoring it. And so, we did the story that you mentioned. We got a lot of video on it. Now DPS is actually investigating, which is what needs to happen. So there's it's just more of these examples of corruption from these immigrant groups that don't respect our cultures, don't respect our laws, and don't respect our Constitution.
Well, it's true. And, what was described as illegal. They can't interfere that way. I think geofencing, especially when it comes to the ballot.
It's a federal crime. There's been other examples in the country of the exact same thing, because the playbooks are always the same.
Yep.
And you just have to follow the playbooks and follow to see where they are. But it's a federal crime. There's been successful prosecutions. That's what we're obviously working towards now here.
Okay.
Well, I think that, I talked to a product manager at Uber. I was a seed investor in Uber with David Cohen and my business partners. And, I'm just big fans of the service, and I've been a customer, 16 years now. And I love the business. I love what they're doing. And I talked to them. I said, well, what are you doing about this? And I showed them the reporting, and they weren't aware of the reporting, but they were aware of the problem. And
we contacted Uber to try to get them on the record, obviously, and showed them the reporting, and they wanted to have nothing to do with it. Lyft as well.
Well, they don't. Of course, I'm not going to out my friend, but I can tell you what he told me. He told me that the whole system where you can actually select a female driver, it was sold as this thing for feminism or whatever, gender ideology, whatever they were trying to push it as, but it was really all about the Muslim crisis that they're having. Their women will not take an Uber anymore. Like they just won't take the ride share. So they're worried about the underlying business. So they created this opportunity if you can select a female driver. And that is literally, it's not a female driver, it's a Christian driver.
Right. Well, okay, guys. Alex, again, since you're piloting the ship this week, I'm definitely in charge. Video that I have shared. I just don't know how to I don't know if I can bring it up.
Why don't you
Well, no,
text
it's already
it to
up.
me?
It's already it says it's sharing right now. I just don't know how to bring it up.
Oh, because I can do that.
There you go.
See, look at that.
Gentlemen,
we are cooperating.
We keep on asking.
Okay, I want her to be my Uber driver.
Well, yes. I got to thank the Karl Rove Never Trump Network's Jesse Waters for sending out the roving reporter here. And you may be asking yourself, why all of a sudden can John Cornyn get away with this stuff? Why can John Thune get away with jumping in front of the country? And again, offering a red herring. Well, we just don't have the votes to kill the filibuster. Well, wait a minute. Nobody's asking you to kill the filibuster. We're asking you to restore it and do a talking filibuster. Notice how he never says we don't have the votes to do a traditional founding fathers filibusters because there is no vote required. And he won't say that because and if our people knew and understood the Constitution and the way our institutions work, John Thune couldn't bullshit us the way he does so many. And you may be asking yourselves, how does he do that? Well, this may be how he does it. I want you guys to listen, and I'll just get your reaction. Actually, I'll tee up Mr. Putnam for the reaction, not to the girl, but to what she and others are saying in response to some American questions that every American should know.
Who is Donald Trump's vice president?
Am I supposed to know this?
Couldn't tell you. Don't pay attention.
I couldn't tell you.
JD Vance.
Vice president. I don't know. J.K. Rowling.
You're a wizard, Harry.
J.K. Rowling's vice president of the United States, Mr. Putnam.
I mean, it actually introduces a whole entirely different topic, which is the absolute failure of our public education system in this country.
Yes.
And it's just gotten to the point of being ridiculous, in fact. And look, how is it? I mean, in Texas, kids, I grew up in Texas. I took Texas history in 7th grade. I never had a class that was strictly oriented around the U.S. Constitution. How is that not a mandatory subject? At some point, in your high school career, for example, even your junior high school career, probably better, maybe sixth grade even.
Well, wait
When
a
you
minute.
have
Ask that question again. Why would government, who's in charge of your education, not want you to know about your rights, about limits on that government? Why wouldn't they teach that to our children, Mr. Putnam? Why do you think?
It's because the left has historically, particularly in the last 30 years or so, dominated the education industry. And when you think about it, in Texas, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And they believe that they have the absolute right to that institution, just like they do to media,
Well, wait a
frankly.
minute. I'm sorry. How often do Republicans vote to give those Democrats all of our taxpayer? We've spent billions over the years, trillions of dollars on government education. Republicans have voted every step of the way to turn over your children to produce what you guys just saw in that video.
Well, in fact, so think about this from a Texas point of view. I know this is a national audience, but we have the Robin Hood system of school finance here, right? There is not a more socialistic system, not a more socialistic system of public finance in America. And you know who protects it? Rural Republicans, rural Texas Republicans, one of some of the most conservative voting areas of the country, because they're on the receiving end. So they're they're the ones that are actually guilty of actual property tax reform, education reform. And it's because a lot of our tax money, as you know, goes to school districts who then filter it to these big, I call them big ed lobbies like TASB, TASA, AFT, who then weaponize our own tax money against us. It's madness. Right. And the fact that our political leaders in Texas haven't ended the practice of taxpayer funded lobbying is insane, because it's just suiciding ourselves politically.
Yes, Alex,
and destroying our educational system.
Alex, I want you to comment, Alex, on the next section. So bring up the video for me and let me know when it's up. And I want you to comment on the next series of questions asked to these young adults who really don't understand what it is to be an American.
Name the 3 branches of government.
I don't know why I chose to do this. Oh God, I'm bad with all this.
Congress and conservative.
Republican. Democrat.
Judicial, legislative.
Executive. Give me a hint. I don't know. Jewish?
This whole thing's off the rails. You're not going to be even air this.
What is the First Amendment of the Constitution?
I have no idea.
I'm allowing you to do it right now.
Oh, free will?
I got nothing.
Freedom of speech? I need help.
I need help. I need help.
The First Amendment to the United States Constitution, Alex. Our children don't know that it's not within the government's rights to curtail your free speech. They just don't know. So this is why it was so easy for Beijing Biden and the Democrats. Fully funded. John Cornyn didn't vote once to take away money from Beijing Biden and his corrupt government. Not once. The government took away our First Amendment rights by intimidating the platform. One of the platforms we're broadcasting on right now, X, to silencing the free speech of Americans. And these kids had no idea that it was beyond the government's rights to do so. That's the danger, is it not?
It absolutely is. One of the largest school districts in the United States is the United States Defense Department. And over the last decade, the Defense Department eliminated the instruction of Western civilization to the children of our soldiers, our warfighters. And it's even in the most, what you would think of as the most conservative school district in the United States, they're not taught why America is great, why Western civilization is superior to the alternative, why democracy is what we should be striving for. The defense of our republic is important. And so thankfully, Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War, has reintroduced Western civilization teaching within the school with the help of Prager and also a few other groups. But you think about it, if we have a hard time getting the U.S. military, the DoD, to teach our children Western civilization values. I can't imagine what we do in schools that are controlled by the teachers unions.
It's insanity. Hold on. I think we should watch a little bit more of this, guys, just to get a flavor. It's not just the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. These kids have no idea about.
What is the Second Amendment of the Constitution?
The right to vote? I don't know.
I have no idea.
You have two of them.
This is a trick question. I don't know.
Bear arms?
You packing?
The right to go places?
You need to get to go. I need to be able to get where you need to go.
Look at the fun they're having, guys.
Let me play devil's advocate here. I mean, I'm a father of an 18-year-old young woman, and for the last 4 years, she and all her little friends have been coming over to my house all the time, and none of them would struggle with any of those questions. So there are definitely people we can find on the street that don't know anything, but surely it can't be as bad as that.
By the way, are your see, my children could answer that too. Most of that. There's more if we wanted. And look at they're having.
Oh, feel free to play. I don't mind it. I mean, they're definitely attractive.
Yeah. And they're there enjoying the freedoms that Constitution provides, that a free enterprise system provides, that a capitalist system provides, and they have no earthly idea what it's about or how to defend it. And now that it's under attack, who will defend it? Them? No. Now my children will know too, but my wife and I sacrificed mightily to make sure that our kids' education was not a part of the government ed system. We got them out of the government ed system.
Did you guys homeschool?
No, we went the parochial school route, which was, and my daughters who have been to college, and my other child who has not gone to college yet, they tell me that they were the tutors. They were the tutors for all of their collegiate friends who didn't know what the hell they were doing because they didn't learn the basic skills in gov ed. But guess what did happen, folks? A whole shit ton of money went into an adult jobs program, which is really all the left cares about. And frankly, all guys like John Cornyn care about is transferring money to their connected political class so that adults have all the money they really need. Now, whether or not children get educated, that's beside the point. And you're seeing it right now on this beach on the Jersey Shore.
How many Supreme Court justices are there?
20.
101.
Lower.
55.
13.
7.
Higher.
8.
9.
Name a justice.
What do you mean?
Amy
Winehouse.
Hold on a minute.
I got nothing.
Hold on a minute. Now look, Chris Putnam, Amy Winehouse probably, and she's passed away, folks. Amy Winehouse has passed away in 2011. But Amy Winehouse, even at her worst moment, probably could have issued a better ruling than Amy Coney Barrett did on birthright citizenship, because at least Amy Winehouse would have said, well, wait a minute, what did the guys that wrote the 14th Amendment actually want it for? That's something that Amy Coney Barrett apparently didn't have the brains to do. But these girls and young men don't even know.
Well, and as bad as that decision, pick a decision from Ketanji Jackson. Like, it's just madness. Like, our own Supreme Court justices don't seem to have a clear grasp of the Constitution. So, and to me, it's just unexplainable.
Ketanji is the one, the nonsense that she's spouting. I mean, I don't even, I mean, everyone keeps calling for Alito to retire. I'm like, maybe Ketanji should retire. I mean, she's literally a mess.
Literally, this is, folks, I'm not exaggerating. For those of you who don't know, Ketanji Brown Jackson is a woman who could not say what a woman was. She should go get a job at the WNBA because they have no idea either.
They should put her on the task force to figure out what women
WNBA task force. By the way,
she's just your classical DEI hire and just the worst possible job, the most important possible job, and who approved her?
Yeah, precisely.
Go back to where we started your conversation tonight.
John Cornyn and the Republicans in the United States.
He probably voted for
well,
her,
hold on a
right?
minute. Let me see if I can pull that up.
I'm looking that up right now. God, he probably did, by the way.
Which Republicans voted for Ketanji?
What's the temperature right there, Chris? What's the temperature out there in Colorado?
We're probably like low 70s right now, but it's in no humidity.
I'm
It's
so
just
jealous.
Oh,
beautiful.
by the way, now what is your is your pooch barking at you to pay attention to him or her, or at our voices?
He's barking at me to like go do something with him. He's been very tired from being out here, which has been great. And of course, he picks this in order to like become animated. But he'll chill out here. I gave him a melatonin gummy, not to be confused with the other gummy. I wouldn't do that to him.
Understood.
Oh, hey, and so I want to keep going with where we're at, but before we stop,
go ahead.
I want to keep going with the thread that you have going, but I want to just add, I would like to talk about the midterm GOP convention before we stop. So just put that on the list of things I'd like to talk about.
Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and Lindsey Graham voted for Ketanji Brown Jackson. Those are the only Republicans.
Oh, wait, who?
Susan Collins.
I'm sorry, repeat.
Lisa Murkowski and the late Lindsey Graham. Oh, speaking of Lindsey Graham, did you see the unmitigated disaster his sister turned in the other night? Look, I had no problem with her, guys, finishing out his term, but no more legacies, no more family rule in our government. Her answers were utter bullshit. And I'm sorry, we cannot trust. We already trusted our government to the likes of Lindsey Graham's sister, and look what it got us with John Cornyn and his ilk, right?
This is the kind of the Trump situation where he's a loyal, honorable guy, but he's making a mistake. Obviously,
I part ways with the president on this. I had no problem with her symbolically finishing out Lindsey Graham's term. I think that was.
I thought it was actually a genius move, to be honest. I thought, oh, that's good because there's no chance she could win in the midterm. So good, you put someone in there, give no one an unfair advantage, and let the other guys fight it out. No, but why are you endorsing?
I wasn't.
I don't know.
I wasn't, Mr. Putnam, but.
Chris,
I'm the wrong person to ask about Trump endorsements. Chris can tell you.
No, I haven't. We haven't talked about that.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, and by the way, has anybody seen Mitch McConnell lately? One of his legislative aides was asked on the streets, "Hey, why hasn't Mitch McConnell put out a video? Why hasn't he showed us where he is?" And of course, she didn't talk. That's uniparty Washington. We don't talk to and answer uncomfortable questions. And is Mitch McConnell Kay Grangering right now?
Well, Trump was asked about that today, and he responded, and he basically said, "Well, in his response is interesting. I support term limits, but the problem is that the people we have to get to vote for term limits are the ones that need to be term limited. It's going to be hard.
It's very true. That's why Article 5 Convention of States is the way to go. Since Washington has grown beyond the consent of the governed, since Washington will not Save America Act, prime example, will not listen to the will of the American people. It is time that the Convention of States, the people that are closest to us, are.
I hear you.
In my groups, we talk about this a lot because the fact is that term limits are the only solution to reforming the most corrupt institute of government that we have, and that's Congress. I mean, Congress was never intended to be a place where people go to die or lose their minds or then hand it off to their children or make ungodly amounts of money starting from zero. It's so out of control. It's unbelievable. We need a Tea Party like movement in this country to demand congressional reform. There is no convention of states, as you know, there's all sorts of quirks about that. I agree that that's probably the path we need to go. It's a timing thing. You have to time it correctly. But this is the single biggest issue in this country.
Chris,
is the absolute and total fail of Congress and how corrupt it's become.
Chris, you have 84% of the country demanding voting integrity, and John Thune is both middle fingers. Yo, that's all John Thune can do. That's all the 23 fake. We're demanding our most basic fundamental right of self-government, which is the vote. We're demanding a secure vote. And Republicans say, go screw yourselves. So there's no way on God's green earth these people are going to limit their own power, to limit their own terms. And by the way, those term limits should extend to the staff members, like the guy, like Jake from State Farm, Jake Smith, that just went out. He should be also term limited. You can't, that's this as well as I do, Putnam, that up on Capitol Hill, what they say, senators and congressmen, they come and go, but we're here forever, right? The administrative state.
That's precisely correct. And this, by the way, if somebody could, mobilize this kind of movement, it's nonpartisan because most Democrat voters feel the same way.
Yeah, Trump could.
I mean, and he could use his bully pulpit to do that for sure, but he needs them to play ball. The problem is they're not. Like, I have a thesis. You can think it's wild or whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think Trump materially cares about what happens in this midterm election because I know what his plan is to, cement his legacy. Iran's involved in that. We don't have to go into all the detail around it, but he's going to work around Congress. He's always had to.
Right.
He's always had to. And the fact that he won 2, maybe 3 national elections on border security and immigration reform, and Republicans have held twice now to take it up and get it passed along with the SAVE Act, that should tell people all that they need to know.
Well, wait a minute.
These people are there to stay there and to make money.
Alex,
and that is it.
Isn't that Trump's greatest contribution? He has forced the John Cornyn's, the Mitch McConnells, Lisa Murkowski's of the world to identify themselves. We are really Democrats. We really prize Democrats. We really love socialists. This is who we really are, and we hate Trump. That is probably his most significant contribution. Is he has destroyed the two-party illusion, I think.
Well, by the way, let me add some real quick, Alex, if you don't mind. The endorsement of Paxton was extraordinary. So, I mean, go back again to Trump's first term. We could talk about my use case or not, but when he was impeached the first time around, he was forced to endorse every single McCarthy talked him endorsing every single incumbent in order to get their impeachment vote without having to trade a lot of favors. So what did he get for that? A knife in the back, like on January 6th, the second that they could stick the knife in the back. And he had no loyal lieutenants at that point. So he's gone from that to endorsing against a 30-year incumbent senator. That is a sea change in the way that he's now approaching these things.
And Cassidy.
No, I agree.
Tillis.
I agree completely. And
No, just Cassidy and Tillis. I was going to throw those guys because he didn't endorse them either. So bye-bye.
Yeah,
that's the first time, by the way. Think about it. Since in between both terms he's been president, that he's done that. That is a thing that's changed. He's really draining the swamp. Not just going swimming.
I think you could give. I mean, and I think what was happening with Trump is he was convinced to give some of these people a pass because they were, under the influence of the deep state telling them all of the terrible things that Trump was doing with Putin and Russia and so on. Obviously, we know all that was going on, and we know that they were being briefed. They were being briefed officially and unofficially by everyone and his own party. And so I think in the first term, you could give them, I think Trump is okay to give them a pass. Okay, man, you guys stab me in the back, as you say, Chris, but I mean, at the end of the day, he okay, well, they were being lied to. And so, I mean, what would I have thought if I had been being told that everybody was corrupt and betraying the country and so on? But I think now he knows, obviously he's very much aware that these people do deserve a pass. There's no excuse for their behavior. And that is why he's been working around them. And they know he knows that. And that's why, Thune, gavels in a pro forma session every 3 to 4 days so that he can prevent Trump from bringing in anyone that might be objectionable to him or the Democrats. And, I just think we're in such an interesting time, and Trump is operating completely independently of the legislature. And people are like, well, why isn't he harder on Thune? And I think it's because he knows he's got no leverage over Thune. Thune is going to do whatever Thune's going to do. And Thune thinks he's more powerful than Trump.
That's not entirely true,
Thune
though.
It's like I said, they're waiting him out.
Yes, they're running out the clock. We've seen this in the Texas.
That's what all the Democrat judges are doing. They're literally running out the clock. They know that the Supreme Court will overrule them. But they're saying, look, everybody put something down. Just object to everything, and then eventually the Supreme Court will overrule us. But they're not going to impeach us. So
exactly.
Good to go.
And Chris, we have seen this strategy play out in the Texas House since the Republicans took over, right? The John Cornyn type Republicans, the Charlie Geren type Republicans, who are not really Republicans, they're Democrats, but they couldn't get elected as Democrats in their districts, so they changed parties, right? So we've seen this run out the clock strategy employed by Strauss, by what's his name, Phelan, by who was after him, Bonin. We've seen the run out the clock strategy be employed all over the place. We Texans recognize what Thune is doing. And by the way, President Trump is not powerless. Trump could have called the Senate back for an emergency session and kept their ass. Yeah.
Okay.
Ahead.
Can I argue that?
I thought it was a constitutional ability he had. Yeah.
Yeah. Congress, come back. What if they don't come back?
Well, then I think Trump could have said, wait a minute. If Congress is not going to not going to respect my Article 1 authority to call them back, then I don't have to respect their pro forma session of Congress. And I'm going to install my nominees anyway.
Well, yeah, and I get what you're saying. I mean, and yes, that's really reasonable. But yeah, so there is no penalty for Congress can be called back. The Senate can be called back. Anyone can be called back, and they could go, yeah, we thought about it. We decided we didn't want to go, and they just don't have any. So Trump doesn't have any power over them. Now he can start ignoring what they did, and that's what Obama did. And then ultimately, the Supreme Court vacated his appointments, and then ultimately, every decision, every ruling that any of his appointments made were also overruled. So it created a huge problem for the government and problem for everybody. So yes, Trump could just ignore them and appoint stuff. But the Supreme Court has decided. So we have this crazy situation where the court has significantly more power than perhaps they were ever intended to have. Congress similarly has that. And we have this, and I think it's always meant to, it was always meant to have been a struggle between the branches. And I think it's operating appropriately. It's just frustrating as hell.
Yeah, operating appropriately, except the one branch, again, the legislative branch is broken. Like, and it needs desperately to be reformed.
Actually, you know what, guys? It's not broken. And I know what you're saying when you say that, but when the Constitution is adhered to, when it's followed, it's not broken. What we have are broken people. What we have is a uniparty in there that has decided to legislate against the will of the American people. Our system, when it's followed, works. We just have a bunch of shrubs in there who are deciding not to follow the system.
But that's because the system it incentivizes the wrong people to go to Washington. We've created this system now that incentivizes them to stay there as long as they can, regardless of how they stay there, to compromise, the Constitution, compromise maybe some of the values that they actually came to Washington with, because they are turning it into a monetary engine. Actually, back to your Texas House example, Chris, the Texas House example is a great analogy, because most people are aware that the way the Texas House works, those legislators aren't actually paid a lot of money. They are being funded by other people, or they're wealthy on their own, and they are using it to monetize personally and create personal generational wealth for their family. And that's precisely what's happening with Congress.
Yes.
That is not what the system was designed to do.
Well, I want to interrupt. I would like to just say one good thing. I mean, obviously now we know that the legislature is going to address the closed primary issue and finally pass this legislation. And so I just think we can't be too hard on them, knowing that they're going to do the right thing.
Can I call bullshit on that?
Oh no, because I'm completely being facetious.
Oh, so you're being
facetious.
Well, because and folks, maybe this is why Alex is being facetious, is because let me get this straight. we, the people, are going to allow our legislature to pass a law to determine how we elect our legislators. What? What? No.
They want us to give up the court challenge that would ensure that we had the right to associate with whomever we want. As the Supreme Court has already ruled, they want us to give up that court challenge so they could pass a law where we can associate as long as we follow the rules that Gene Wu and his fellow, his selected
it's complete
speaker agree with.
Comrade Wu.
Complete bullshit. Folks, look, this is one of the few times I've disagreed with Governor Abbott. I had him on the show and I said, look, man, I don't want to go down the idea that elected politicians are trying to tell us how they're supposed to be elected. Don't want to go down that road. I just want to go down the road. I don't want to go down judicial precedents that said that government doesn't have the right to force association on us. Let's just go back to first principles. The idea that government will tell the people how they're to be elected. The Republican and Democrat parties are private organizations. Government has no role in regulating how those private organizations pick their candidates to run for public office. No role. Zero
One
role.
question for
Go
you.
ahead.
Can I ask a question? We asked taxpayers to fund those party processes, those primary elections. I mean, so if I think that we should have a right to pick our own nominees, but why don't we pay
Agreed.
for it ourselves?
You Republicans, because remember, guys, I'm a conservative. I have not identified, the Republican abandoned me a long time ago. So yes, your party, Alex, should be financing its own elections to choose its candidates.
Right, and I think that's the easiest answer to it, right? Is literally just, yes, fine, we
By the
will.
way,
and
you're
thank you.
watching the third rail, folks. You've got me, your liberty-loving Latino, Chris Salcedo. You've got Alexander Muse from X @Amuse. Of course, if you're watching my feed, and Mr. Putnam's feed, that's how you find him. And of course, Mr. Putnam, he is the head honcho, the big cheese over the Dallas Express, joining us tonight. Guys, Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution. The president may, on extraordinary occasions, convene both houses or either of them. That is his Article 1, actually under Article 2, I should say, Article 2 power.
But he has no enforcement power if they don't show up.
Yes, he can call for them, and if they don't show up, then he can have the saying, oh, well, guess what? There is no, if they don't have to listen to my Article 2 powers, I don't have to listen to the pro forma. By the way, pro forma session of Congress, folks, isn't in the Constitution. This whole idea of gaveling in, gaveling out, so the president can.
That was a court decision. The court just said, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. We'll do that."
I don't even know if a court validated it. Actually, I think
the Supreme Court did. That went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Went with Obama's damage he did still remained. They said, "Oh yeah, Obama violated the Constitution, but he still gets to keep all of his abuse of the American people." I said, "Freaking great! Thanks a lot."
Well, no, they did vacate the NRL. So it was all about the National Labor Relations Board or whatever, and so they did vacate all the decisions made during that tenure of those. The
was it a year and a half? But the NLR.
It was it was actually like almost 2 years. It was like because it took forever for the legislation, the court case to go through. I actually spent some time on this. I actually researched it, and it's a fascinating issue. I don't think they settled it correctly, and I do think it's right for rehearing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think. I mean, look, I think that Obama obeying the pro forma session of Congress, if he decided he would go extra constitutional, then Trump shouldn't do that. But again, I think the president would be on good, firm footing if he would actually go down this road and call that emergency session, because I think voting integrity is an emergency in this.
Let me ask you, why do you think he hasn't? So what do you think his motivation to not do that is? Or also do the same thing as it relates to a legitimate border security immigration reform bill, since we're not back in the exact same situation we were in under the Biden administration in 2 years.
Yeah.
He has a team of people around him that they're not bad people, but they just have a different opinion on how things.
They just think it's the
done.
1980s. That's all.
Well, and they are just they are everyone is on. So I think about it as like autism. So the Republican Party is on the autistic spectrum, and so there are people at various places on that spectrum, and he has to manage all of them. And so he's got people on the really rough part of the spectrum, and then people on the. So he's got to figure out. He in the first administration, in his first term, you know, he had a lot of turmoil in his administration. There were a lot of people in and out, in and out, in and out. I mean, people, Scaramucci, what lasted 12 days or whatever. I'm telling you that he was impacted by that, and he doesn't want to have that happen.
He should have hired the right people then. John Bolton. I mean, come on,
dude.
Like, that was the intent of
he doesn't know anyone. I mean, at the time, he didn't know anyone. Now he had 4 years to figure things out.
By the way,
he did much better.
He
did much better.
I saw Bolton on television. They did. The guy's been convicted and is awaiting sentencing on several charges, including the mishandling and the illegal retention of classified information. And he's on MSNBS. And they're asking him his opinion of the Iran war. And it's like, wait, this guy's a convicted felon, for crying out loud.
They know he identifies as a Republican, is going to say terrible things about Trump. It's that simple. That's their game, right?
Who actually did steal classified information that did what Trump was accused of doing. Alex, you wanted to bring this up, and look, you guys reshare this right now, so that everybody can on your pages reshare it right now on X, because what Alex is about ready to start talking about, folks, is incredibly controversial. It may get one or all three of us in trouble that we're about ready to talk about. So the convention that is coming to the great state of Texas, Alex.
Yeah, I've made decisions professionally that I knew would probably have ramifications, and it is what it is, and I accept that. But it's interesting that the time that we get our parties together, where we have convention, we give speeches, we shake hands, we hug, I guess we sometimes wink and smile at each other. The opportunity to bring the party together is one of the most important things that a party does. It is how you form a party, how you basically lead a nation. And if we're going to make our conventions invite only, and only people that certain people agree with, then we really don't have a party. We've got something, but I don't know what it is. And so what I'm referring to is that that we are having a convention that a lot of us aren't invited to. In fact, specifically uninvited to. And and I made a choice. I covered a story. I covered an individual in the White House who sabotaged Elon Musk's relationship with the president, who tanked Jared Isaacman's appointment as NASA administrator. And I called him out, and I said it wasn't appropriate. It wasn't fair. And and when I did, the White House was not happy about it, and particularly the chief of staff was not happy about it. And ultimately, I thought this story was important enough to share, and it resulted in that person leaving the administration and getting promoted to an amazing job as the ambassador to India. So you're welcome. And but ultimately, Susie now is like saying I can't go to the convention because I dared to criticize a member of the administration.
All right, I have questions, and I'm sure Putnam does too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know this came from Susie?
Yes.
Okay, that was my question, Chris.
And so I have my media credentials have been denied, and so they're doing the identity verifications to your phone numbers. And so if I use my phone number, I get denied on anything. And so I have been invited to things that didn't have a phone number. And so, but yeah, I'm out. And then that was confirmed by Cambry and some other people.
Chris?
I'm familiar with the story that Alex is talking about. It was a brave story, and it was a important story. that was an individual in a position of power who should not have been, and an influence in the White House that was not good for all of us as Americans. I don't know about retribution. My experience dealing with the RNC has been really positive, actually, through this. But I mean, we're the Dallas Express. It's in Dallas. They know that we will at least treat them fairly, unlike the other big media outlets in town that are owned by New York and New Jersey companies, as you know. So, and of course, we weren't a direct party to that story. So that's not been my experience, but I think it's sad if, in fact, that's the root cause of why Alex is not going to be allowed to be there.
Well, to my knowledge, I, your liberty-loving Latino, am not in trouble with the White House or the RNC. I'm in trouble with the Republican Party of Texas. I, too, made a decision to stand on principle, and the Chris Salcedo show is out for the first time since we got here. And I'm breaking news right here on the third rail. Since the first time we got here in 2006, since I arrived as a news person and then would ultimately get into opinion in 2013. The first time I'm on the outs of the Republican Party, and it's very strange to be out here, because what I did was, and this is what I did. There's an organization in Texas called Red Texas, right?
Oh no, you attacked them?
Well, I didn't attack them.
You just
I said what they were doing.
doing.
They are advocates for open primaries. They are big time advocates for open primaries. They're like John Cornyn. And I oppose allowing socialists and Marxists to vote in Republican primaries. I oppose that. So apparently some members of their organization have been hired by the new Republican Party of Texas. Now, when I went online, I basically highlighted these individuals, the organization, not the individuals, the organization, and one hire in particular, and saying, look, I would caution the Republican Party of Texas on hiring people who have this view about open and closed primaries. And it seems that Red Texas is not Republican red, it's communist red, to which that wasn't taken very well.
You're not
I wasn't being very nice. And as a result, the Chris Salcedo show was on the outs of the Republican Party of Texas. So I'm not sure what that's going to do, if we're going to be able to cover the convention or not. It just closed down an avenue that we would normally have, because we had such great relationships with all past individuals who were chairmen or chairpersons of the Republican Party of Texas. And because of my advocacy for closed primaries, the Chris Salcedo show is out.
At the end of the day, Chris Putnam, I respect the situation you find yourself in, and I would probably do the same thing. And Chris Salcedo, I understand exactly what your issue is too, and I agree, and I understand their argument. Their argument is that their organization was founded to go into Democrat districts and try to find some kind of solution to get somebody that was close to like a Burroughs or a Phelan level of conservatives. So they were like, oh, let's get at least sort of a fake Republican in some of these blue areas. So I get it, what their strategy was, but it's not an excuse to close the borders for the entire state. I actually didn't really, I don't really like going to conventions and all that kind of stuff. And frankly, the only reason I'm kind of interested in going now is because they won't let me. And I'm desperate to go now. I don't know why.
Let's be clear about something as well. This isn't a convention. This is a pep rally. Nobody's voting on any policy platform. There's no candidates being impacted. It's a cheerleading exercise because they rightfully believe that Republicans need it right now. As you guys know, like this is just challenging primary cycle for any party in power, number one. And the biggest thing that Republicans have to do is get their voters to the polls. Democrats in Texas have to expand their base. Republicans have to get theirs to the polls. And the problem is that, with Israel and Iran, the Trump base is fractured. And they don't go.
Well, I think it's a really good idea that you alienate Chris Salcedo, who's got, a pretty big audience in the state. Just don't let him come. Don't let him be involved. I think that's really smart. At the end of the day, this morning I was invited to go speak at the Dallas Country Club to, a group of gentlemen, multiple billionaires, I guess. 60 people in a group that's been meeting since 1957. And they wanted me to talk on the data center issue and what was going on and how the legislature was dealing with that. And one of the illustrious members who I was excited to see was Ray Balestri, and not Ray Balestri. I had his name on my lips today. He was a friend of mine who passed away, but no, Ray Washburn, and he's the chair of the midterm convention, and he raised $45 million. And so I was so excited. They invited me to speak, and I was like, oh, good. I'll go talk to Ray and see if he'll give me a ticket, because I don't think they would tell Ray no if he wanted to give me a ticket. And so I showed up this morning to speak, and I thought it was a good speech and or a good event. I thought it went well, but it was Ray sadly is on the Ritz cruise right now cruising around Europe and having a great time. So, hey Ray, if you're watching, have fun. And if you get this, send me a ticket. I need to get into this damn event.
But these use cases, isn't this just so classical that the problems and the differences that Republicans have with Democrats, we just fight and chew each other up, and they, right or wrong, will circle the wagons when it's game time. And our wagons better get circled pretty quick, because this is a very challenging cycle for Republicans. And no less than, the possible election of the first statewide Democrat candidate since 1994 is out there. That race, of course, Paxton's race and Tallarico's race is the biggest, the most highest profile in the country. And it could be the race that decides the Senate. Well, and here we are battling over stuff like this, Yeah,
and of course, and I love being in my defense, but the story I wrote about Sergio Gore, and I really did feel like the most consequential partnership in my generation has been Elon Musk and President Trump, and the fact that he spent his effort because of his own ego to destroy that. And everyone who was a source was a very close, everyone was in the White House. Everyone knew exactly what was going on, and they all agreed that it was true. So no one actually disputes the fact. And when I told the fact, what did Sergio do? One, he refused to talk to me ever about it. So he'd never, I offered him the opportunity to kind of clear the air. Tell me, what am I getting wrong? Help me fix it. Instead, what he does is he hires the president's lawyer and threatens to sue me. He sends me a threat that he's going to bankrupt me. And I knew that Trump wouldn't like that. So I sent a note to someone who could get that information to him that his lawyer was now getting involved in this. And so I think that made the difference, because he dropped the case. And I think that put the whole situation on the radar of President Trump. So I think that was an unforced error that Sergio made, was to hire the president's attorney to threaten me. And then the whole thing got dropped and everything moved on, and he got a new job running, being the ambassador.
This is breaking news, by the way. This is stuff that I knew that you went through this, but you and I had never talked about it before. So
I've been reluctant to share as much, or I haven't really, I didn't want to keep beating the drum once we solved the problem. We got Jared back, so good news. Jared got to be NASA administrator, and Trump and Elon are yes. There is detente, and Elon is not forming his own party, because that's where we were, if you guys remember. At this point, he has said, oh no, I'm going to support Senate candidates. So he's pumping $100 million or more, into these races. And that was my goal, because I was like, we can't let it go. We have to stop. And so I wasn't reporting on the basis of being a journalist. I was reporting on the basis of being an advocate for the
Putnam,
country.
to your point about, how challenging this is, and to longtime watchers of the Chris Salcedo show, what I'm about ready to say is going to be probably jaw-dropping. But I have got to give, because by all accounts, from everything I've been able to find and determine, it's genuine. And there is a guy that is going out there and saying to all this petty bullshit, a guy who is, in my view, awakened and said, we're under some real serious threats here. And that guy is the Speaker of the Texas House, Dustin Burrows. Dustin Burrows is all hands on deck, all unity, all in for Ken Paxton, for every Republican running on the ticket, unified, no daylight. We're all moving ahead together. And from everything I've been seeing publicly and hearing on back channels, his leadership is something that I'll go ahead and say it, something that we haven't seen in the Texas House in a while.
So agreed. And, by the way, I think it took some people a little bit of time to understand Speaker Burrows and who he is because of the way that he assumed the role.
Yep.
Like his predecessors did. He's not them. He's not. Is very effective in working with, let's just say, both sides of the Republican Party. He is not, selfishly or power motivated like some of his predecessors. I think this next legislative session, people are going to have a little bit of a different opinion on him, regardless of what happened with the caucus and how he assumed that role. And he has been good. And the governor, by the way, I thought it was extraordinary when Shelley Luther held that rally out in Sherman.
Yes.
And, and she's introducing the governor who literally put her in jail. I mean, that was pretty amazing.
That's
Texas,
crazy.
Yeah. Texas Republicans on the elected side, Jeff Leach, he couldn't have been a more vocal opponent of Ken Paxton.
Yep.
And, he's leading the cheerleading now. Like that's been impressive. But, I think you need to keep in mind that that's how serious it is.
Well,
that's how serious the situation is.
Again,
let me pop in. I mean, from Burrows, obviously I was not a fan of Burrows. Oh, Chris, I really wasn't a fan of his opponent in that speaker race, by the way. And, but I will tell you at the end of the session, Rachel Hooper, Don Hooper, Rachel was the legal counselor for the party. And, she went through the ways that Burrows kind of worked with the grassroots, the conservatives, to get some of what we wanted. And, when I took an account, if you actually, did the accounting, I wasn't willing to admit it probably a few months ago, but maybe now I can say that it was net better than I assumed it would be. And so I can agree.
But
so I think we
consider this,
we might
Alex.
be in
I don't mean to interrupt, but like getting school choice over the line was just, the blood that's been left on the floor over that issue. And it's not the perfect bill, but look how popular that program has been.
Yes.
And you wouldn't have been able to have one of these obstructionists running the House. They would have just ignored it, and he got it done. And the litmus test for this next legislative session is real property tax reform, not just a rebate of the surplus.
True.
And continued progress with respect to creating more options for choice. And so, as far as I'm concerned, like, he's done an effective job, and I think that there's more good things to come.
Well, gentlemen,
in Leach and Briscoe Kane and everybody else. So everybody's sort of like opening up the opportunity to kind of cure some of the problems we have. The problem is that we have the chair of the party, I think, is still in retribution mode, and maybe that gets resolved.
And
maybe after the midterm.
Let me just not to go too far afield of Burrows just for a minute, guys.
Let's not get too crazy.
No, I just want to be able to put an exclamation point on this because you said something, Alex, in your account. I heard the same description by Rachel and Donna. Not to say that they don't move me and that I don't trust what they say, but to me, and the way I've been conducting the show, it is don't tell me, show me. And whereas well,
they did have receipts, by the way.
James, school choice over the line didn't show you.
Well,
it's hard.
No, because this is why because you had the governor threatening to remember the establishment Republicans got wiped out as you had Paxton, the governor, and the president coming out against them in the previous session. It was an historic wiping out of these rhinos.
It was the best thing Abbott ever did.
And they were facing it again. They were going to get another wipeout if they had defied the will of the people of Texas again. But to Burroughs, I got all that information too, Alex. But now when the rubber meets the road and we need leaders, and it's the expression adversity does not create character, it reveals it, right? And what Dustin Burroughs is showing now that we are experiencing some adversity in the country and in the state of Texas, the man is doing something that I don't want to get into Leach and Briscoe and all that stuff. Just what Burroughs is showing me is something that a conservative appreciates in its leadership. And it's not just telling me something. That's what we've had 24 years of John Cornyn flapping his gums and then go doing something else when he gets to Washington. Burroughs
or John Thune, he would, like in that use case, would maybe have just ignored the governor. Like
Yes.
he's ignoring the president.
Exactly. Burroughs is not only he sees the threat, he's acting on it. And if everything I'm hearing and everything I'm seeing culminates to where I pray it's going, it is going to be a very different session in 2027 indeed.
And the last one wasn't horrible.
I'm very confident.
I'm more optimistic about it than I have been in 20 years in the Texas legislature, that is.
Well, you guys certainly know a lot more about this than I do. I'm definitely a neophyte when it comes to the Texas legislature, but I can tell you that, what I learned of Cook and, in that speaker race, I think that the net of where we ended up is better off with Burroughs, and where we are today is 10x the opportunity that we would have had if that had been kind of the direction we had headed as a party. So I too am hopeful.
All right. Well, guys.
Now Brian Harrison probably.
I think we are approaching the end of the broadcast here. The third rail, folks. You've been watching your Liberty Loving Latino here, Chris Salcedo and Alexander Muse, and our guest tonight, Chris Putnam of the Dallas Express. Parting thoughts and things you're going to be looking at in the week ahead. Alex, you go first.
Yeah, head out tomorrow to drop my little girl off at college. There is a significant amount of packing going on the other side of that door. And
I said, guess where she's going.
Where? Oh yeah, no one knows.
And congratulations, Dad. That's a huge achievement.
Huge.
Yeah, no, well, I had almost nothing to do with it, but she is amazing. My little boy is getting married in January, so we're going to see him and his fiance when we're up there. So basically all of my children in the Northeast now. So very excited to hang out with them. And then I'm going to come back to Dallas next week on Tuesday, and I'm going to be, for the first time, a bachelor. And so, hey, Chris, if you're back in town, let's
knock a few back.
Go hit the clubs.
Indeed.
Or head up here if you want to cool down a little bit.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, I might take you up on it as long as you've got good internet. Or I'll bring my Starlink.
Putnam, what do you got coming up on the week ahead?
Now this is when campaigning starts, as you all know. So the ground games start. We're obviously, and we do have a fairly significant role at the convention that we'll be talking about soon in terms of some events that people that weren't invited or can't afford to attend because of the prices of the delegate tickets will be able to come to. So we'll get all that out soon. Other than that, it's just like watching the day by day in these campaigns. And the other big story that we're following right now is the drama with the McKinney recall over their approval of the mosque up there.
Huge.
No, I love that.
For those of you watching
I
that don't
love
know what
that.
that's about, the McKinney City Council heard overwhelming testimony not wanting the expansion of the green part of the Red-Green Alliance. And the City Council heard overwhelming testimony against it, and they voted 7-0 to pass it against the will of their constituents. And there are 4 politicians there who are facing recall because they didn't listen to their constituents. So,
And one of the things that we're tackling in terms of educating readers on is legally what can be done at the federal level, the state level, as well as the local level differently to manage these situations more effectively.
Yeah.
Because
Well, you know that their in-house counsel told them they had no choice; they had to do it. That's what they were being told.
it's a lot. It's
So
a
they-
show in and of itself. As you know, like I was a city councilman, deputy mayor in a town. There's plenty of things you can do, but you have to get in front of it a little bit.
Yeah, no, and there are attack vectors on all this, and I do think there's an opportunity to help these local communities handle this better. Hey, so just to go back, are you hosting events? Did you end up getting a venue? What did you end up doing?
We have. So
at the convention.
We're working with the RNC on a couple of things, but we also have a couple of our own events that will be there, in the really close proximity to the convention area, even inside the plaza, and all of that should start to be announced in the next week or so.
Okay, yeah. So I'm getting significant number of invitations. I'd love to go and hang out with you guys. So there are obviously going to be opportunities. So half the administration is going to be here, and so as they've wanted to get together and do some things together, and I let them know my circumstance, and so they're interested in getting involved in helping with basically the alternative event. So to the extent that you want there, I think I could definitely have at least 2 cabinet secretaries who are interested in coming and do some interviews and so on. So there's going to be some fun stuff.
That's great.
That. Praise God, we're all going to be there anyway. Let's just hope cooler heads prevail, and we'll all be there. Gentlemen,
I'll tell you who will be there. I know you're wrapping up, but if you haven't seen this story, they're planning like a national level protest for this thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
This week, I am wrapping up 14 years on the Voice of Texas, AM.
Oh, are we announcing something?
I'm announcing that, and I'll be joining a national radio network to be announced on Friday, and that's what I'm going to be paying attention to. It's going to be a very bittersweet goodbye to a lot of good people and a great audience that I have had for, as I said, 14 years on KSEV in Houston, Texas. And
well, I want to say that I've really enjoyed, your work, and I think that the next phase for you is going to be exciting. I think Westwood One is a great network, and Casey Kasem could not have a better successor. So I can't wait to hear the top 10.
And now it's time for our long distance dedication.
I think you would be great at it. I'm joking, by the way.
This story comes from a man who just lost his dog. Little dog's name was Fluffy. Anyway, that's one thing I'm paying attention to. The next thing I'm paying attention to is, and anybody who can get me an answer to this, we know that the National Republican Senatorial Committee and those who were controlling the money in the Republican Party establishment spent over $100 million to defeat the conservative in the Texas primary, Ken Paxton. I would like to,
and lost by
28 points. I would like to know how much those same people, the NRSC and all the other tangential groups that are controlling a major cash cow, the Republicans are awash in cash. Thank you, President Trump. How much money?
And the DNC is not, by the way.
Yes, I know. How much willing?
It's the perfect opportunity for us.
Can somebody get me the dollar figure? Remember, $100 million was given to defeat the conservative in the Republican primary. How much money are they giving to defeat the socialist and the Marxists to make sure that a Republican wins the United States Senate seat? None other than the most conservative attorney general in the country, Ken Paxton. I'd like an answer.
Well, Cornyn isn't spending a dime, and Thune doesn't want to sit in the same Senate as Ken Paxton because he knows he'd be a thorn in his side.
Thune, Folks, have a great day and a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you next week on the Third Rail.
See you next week, guys. Thanks.